Hi all, this is Ms. Long, and I want to share some vocabulary strategies with you, or actually kind of model some of the things that we pointed at the mini conference when it comes to teaching vocabulary, some best practices for it. So I'm using a Google slide that we created for the Giver for teaching vocabulary, one of our 6th grade texts. And so these words, most of them come right from the text, but I did add on a word that comes from a later chapter because I wanted to model that kind of a word with you. Okay, if you're using this prayer model that we shared at the mini conference, it doesn't really matter the order that you put things in, just as long as these components and that are there and we're facilitating this kind of learning about words when we do teach vocabulary. So we always want to start with context clues. So with context clues, we want to have an authentic sentence that the word can be found in, and ask students to look for context clues in the sentence and guess at the meaning from that. So for example, let's take a look at this sentence. I apologize for inconveniencing my learning community. Asher ran through the standard apology phrase rapidly, still catching his breath. So students might be able to look at this and tell that it's something negative. They could tell it must not be anything good if Asher has to apologize. We have apologize and we have apology. So even if they don't know exactly what the word means, they could tell it doesn't mean something, it means something bad. So that's a good start. Before we get to the definition, we want to look at word parts. So we could do it like this. This is what I've been doing on Google Slides, simply because I can't actually write on them. But if I were in my classroom, I would write right on the smartboard. But if I wanted to take the word inconveniencing and break it down, I would go to etymonline.com. You can click word parts right up here, and it will take you to the website. And so if I did that, it would take me to the Etymology Online site. And let me start over here and put in the word inconveniencing. Now, sometimes when I have a word that has multiple suffixes or different types of suffixes, it'll redirect me to the word in another form. So here the word inconveniencing, it's redirecting us to inconvenience, the verb or the noun. So I'm going to click on that. When I click on inconvenience, it's telling me to see inconvenience. So sometimes I have to do several clicks to get the word broken down to word parts. Okay, now when I clicked on inconvenient, I can see that in is a prefix, and it means not or opposite of. And then convenient is the main part of that word, so it wants us to click on that. And when I click on convenient, I can see that there is another prefix. It tells me that con comes from com, which means with or together, and it says see con. And then I'm getting to the root word, which is veneer, to come, but I want to look at the Proto-Indo-European root GWA, because this is where I'm going to make all the connections at. And when I click on GWA, I can see all these other great words that have, and you can see similarities like adventure, advent, circumvent, and so on. So this would be a good word to do a study of the root word so kids can make some connections between words. After I have broken down the word parts, so then I would get to the definition. But if I have my smartboard, I prefer to break down the word parts like this using the bracket system. I think this is more visually appealing to students. They can understand it better. So I always prefer to do this, where you would take the word and put it in parts. So here we have our two prefixes, our root word, and our two suffixes. And then I would ask students, okay, when I put it all together, what literally must the word mean? It must mean a quality or state of not coming together. And so I could see how that relates if somebody inconveniences you or something is inconveniencing. Maybe it's not coming along with you, not coming with your plans. It's just not coming together. Okay. Then we look up the actual definition of the word, the state of not being convenient, annoying, or troublesome. Okay, now down here I have to decide what type of student activity would I do. I could do synonyms and antonyms. I also could do a word part challenge. So I could tell students, look up the actual root word, not just veneer from Latin meaning to come, we said that it's originally from GWA, and I would have that linked. Or it's okay to get them used to searching those root words too. That would be okay. Okay, but if I had them do a word part challenge, it might look something like this. And let me make this larger so you can see it better. And by the way, I'm going to post this and the video on Google Classroom, so you can find it there. I'll put it under vocabulary, and I'll also send it out. But here are other words that we looked at that connect, like advent, adventure, avenue, circumvent, convene, convent, eventual, convention, invent, and prevent. So those are all good words that kids can make connections to. And I might do a challenge. I might say, okay, when you and your group have 10 words written down, they must be spelled correctly. Everybody in the group must have them written down in their notebook. When your group is done, stand up, and then I might give extra credit points or a prize or something. But that's what I mean by making it engaging, but also making it something that has a little bit of depth to it, so they're really learning conceptually about the word. Okay, so that is one kind of vocab challenge. Let's say we took the word sympathetically, and I looked it up on, well, here's my context clues. I would go through the context clues first. Oh no, mother murmured sympathetically. I know how sad that must make you feel. We've got a nice context clue here with sad. In the next sentence that comes after it, Jonas and Lily both nodded sympathetically as well. Release of new children was always sad. Repetition of sad, I think they would put two and two together, that sympathetically must mean feeling sad. So they might not get it on the nose, but they'll probably be close. So if I looked up the word on etymology online, I could see how the word is broken down. You really have to do this. This is awfully complicated for students to do. This is, I would be ready to give from the Proto-Indo-European root, KWENT. And when I click on that, there's lots of other great words that connect to it. Anthropopathy, which is a great word for giving gods human-like qualities. Antipathy, apathy, empathy, idiopathy. So lots of great things here. Pathetic, pathogenic, pathology, psychopathic, or a psychopath would be a good one, and then sympathy. So all these could be good words to look at. So as I was saying before, I would break the words down like this in brackets with the students. And sympathetically actually has two suffixes, which we had listed in that box. So we've got syn, meaning together. The root word, the pathet part comes from pathos, originally from KWENT, meaning suffering. Maybe do a challenge like that. The ICAL means pertaining to, and the LY means characteristic of. I usually do have them write the part of speech with the last suffix. So this kind of stuff would be meaningful because, again, you're showing relationships. I could take the word apprehensive. I could do the same thing. We could see the context clues that are in here. When I go to the word parts, this is a great word also has a great root word, that GHEND part means to seize or to take. And so there's lots of words that connect to it. So I've got a prefix. It comes from AD, the A, which means to. The pre part means before. The hence part comes from the root word GHEND, gend, meaning to seize or to take. The IVE part, the suffix, means having the nature of, and this is an adjective. I would also add that. But there's lots of words that do connect, like apprentice, comprehend, depredate, entrepreneur, forget, predator, prey, reprehend, reprehensible would be a good one to add there. So you could do challenges. This is also a good word when you look up synonyms and antonyms. It has lots of great synonyms and antonyms. This is one I might do a connotation continuum with, and I might say, find 5 words and put them in order from mildest to strongest with emotional appeal. So for example, concerned is not nearly as strong as foreboding or frozen. Being suspicious or jittery, suspicious is stronger than concerned, but it's still not as strong as foreboding. That's pretty strong. So, or troubled. So I might have them put them in order of mildest to strongest feeling and have them compare notes. That would be something good to do. Okay, so I think you're seeing, you change up what you would do with the word. Well, let me show you a word. Let me come here to sacred. Oops. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to put sacred up here, but this slide does have sacred on it. I'm going to fix it. And you could see sacred's word parts. There is no prefix. The root word comes from SAK, meaning to sanctify. The ED, it is a past participle, but we use it as an adjective, and that's kind of what participles do. But this is not a good word to do a bunch of word parts, because when I search the word, there is no root word linked there that can link to other words in English. So when I look at the word, I would not have them do a word part challenge with this. That wouldn't make any sense, because there's not really other root words that are going to relate to it. There are other synonyms that are similar, but not the same root word. So I would still tell them, though, that what the root word means, that the root word, let me come back to my brackets, it comes from SAK, meaning to sanctify. I would have them copy this down, and then I would keep it moving. And I might do synonyms and antonyms. This might be a good one to visualize, where I might let them draw it. So it just kind of depends what the word is, and what would make most sense to teach with that word, if we feel like it's a pretty important word that we want to take the time to teach. Every single word we come across, we're not going to actually teach in a Frere model. We have to be selective on what words do we think are important, what words might they see again, what words do have great word parts that they could learn a lot of words, or the way that a lot of words are working with one root word. So hopefully you found this helpful. Please email me if you have any questions or want any help, or if you have a tricky word, I can try to help you with. All right, so thank you, and I'll see you all soon.